talked to AI enough to like get to know it. Like,
I don't think I've ever had a conversation with AI, not willingly.
No.
I bet like customer services.
Oh yeah, when you're like forced to, and then you're just kind of like already angry. So like, I'm not falling in love with that.
Yeah.
Not like, just give me a refund. And I'm like, but you're cute.
I get AI's bad and everything, but if you're gonna have AI chatbots, why would it just be like some guy or some sexy lady? I want it to take the form of, oh, I'm a talking polar bear, and I'm going to tell you about my life. Like,
very cool.
Something I can learn something from.
Not like a sexy person. Because there's like sexy people in the world.
Yeah, just go talk to them.
Go talk to a real human.
And if you pay them money, they'll talk to you too.
Yep.
I want a chatbot that is just a raccoon in the city, and it just tells you about its adventures.
Oh, and like gossip about your neighbors.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking that. I want to gossip about like the cats and stuff.
That would be cute.
See, that's more interesting to me because you know what? I have to talk to people all the time. It's not great.
I honestly avoid talking to people.
You know who I don't get to talk to?
Raccoons, cats, polar bears.
Yeah, I talk. They just listen, though.
Donkeys.
Yeah, I talked to a donkey, sure.
We talked to a donkey quite recently, but...
It didn't talk back?
No.
Save that for our donkey podcast, for a Dunkcast. Today, we have another very special episode of I Love This, You Should Too. My name is Indy, no AI Randhawa, and with me is my lovely, real-life, flesh and blood co-host, Samantha Dunkcast Randhawa.
If I was AI, I wouldn't be sick.
That is true. Well,
I'd probably be giving better
computer
audio.
virus, isn't that a thing?
Oh, yeah.
From what a lot of 90s movies taught me, a computer virus is just like getting a cold. So today's a bit of an in-between episode. We do the classic, spoiler-free things of the fortnight, and then I'll let you know what the big watch is. And it's, what do we promise? Romance.
Romance month, yes. So, Indy, what's your spoiler-free thing of the fortnight?
Well, we went to Mexico recently.
We did.
And while going to other countries, I like to listen to the music, read the books. So I am going to do some quick picks of Mexican literature.
Okay.
They are all things that have been translated into English because my Spanish is like kindergarten reading level. So
Poquito Spanish?
Yeah, there you go. So first we have I think I'll go through them chronologically in when they were released, not the order that I read them in. So starting first in 1915, we have a book called The Underdogs by Mariano Azuela. And this is a novel of the Mexican Revolution that follows a poor man who is drawn into the fighting after government troops destroy his home and kill his dog. It's very John Wick in that sense. So he becomes a leader of this ragtag band of rebels, and as time goes on, it starts giving way to disillusionment, factionalism, and violence. And Azuela, the author, was a part of the revolution, and this book doesn't really just celebrate the heroism of the Mexican Revolution, but also it talks about how violence itself is kind of corroding these ideals, and people who rise up against oppression, when they're doing it for the wrong reasons, can be indistinguishable from those that were once the oppressors. So it gets into that stuff, and I have a few books, so I'm not going to say much more than that, but I would give this one a recommend, and it's a very short book too, so that's always nice. Then from 1955, Pedro Paramo by Juan Rulfo, and this is one of the most famous books of the list. It's the only novel that he ever wrote, and it's also kind of short, but it is very influential. I think the foreword in the version I read was written by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and if Marquez is saying this is a big influence on me, then you know it's a big deal. So this one follows a man who travels to this remote village. He made a promise to his mother that he was going to find his mother and make him pay for abandoning him. And as he goes into the town, it's weird. It's this wasteland. And this is a magical realist book. So if you like that, this is a landmark in magical realism. It's a lot of authors drew from this, and you'll be able to see those. If you're not into that sort of thing, you might hate this novel. I liked it because linear time doesn't really matter anymore. The difference between living people and dead people, ghosts and memories, there's not really a difference. And when someone passes from one world to the other, they don't really even mention it. It just happens. So you might not know what's going on all the time. I kind of like that sort of thing. So I really enjoyed this one. It's a heavy recommendation if you're into magical realism. If you like Murakami for a contemporary comparison, or if you like Marquez, you'll really like this. If you don't like that sort of thing, you'll probably hate this book. So don't. But I really enjoyed it. The Death of Artemio Cruz came out in 1962, written by Carlos Fuentes. And this novel starts with a man dying. And it's just about the final hours of his life, but then he is remembering instances in his life, and that kind of fleshes out the character that way. So this is another one that's not linear in time. It's jumping between him talking about the present while he dies and jumping into the past. And it also jumps between perspectives. It has first person, second person, and third person all in the same book. And that sounds confusing, and it kind of is. And then when you realize how it's working, which did take me a little bit time to figure out, it works very well. So
that does sound confusing.
It is. I'm not going to say it's not, but about a quarter of the way into the book, I figured out what was going on, and then it makes a lot more sense.
Okay, so you just had to like catch up with the style.
Yeah. Because when someone switches from, and then he did this and this, to then I did this and this, and you will do this and this, it's confusing. Mm-hmm. But then you realize the I and he and you they're all interchangeable.
Oh.
Aren't we all? But anyways, he talks about, again, the revolution and the idealism of that, and then corruption that came afterwards. But some of the stuff when he is dying and talking about his death in present tense, that was just terrifying. It was very scary. So I'd recommend that one as well. I think that one is also very well regarded. Then we're jumping up quite a few years into something not quite contemporary, but in 1989, Laura Esquivel wrote Like Water for Chocolate, another very famous one for good reason. This is a romantic novel that also has some magical realism, but I think this is a good beginner's introduction to magical realism. Mm-hmm. Not in that, like, it's simplistic. It's just that it's not going to be nearly as jarring, because the magical realist elements in this are when someone cooks, her food is kind of imbued with her emotions and has effects on other people, and it's just kind of accepted. It's not like, wait, what's going on? It's
That's
not
fun.
like that Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie with the magic crab that's also her mom. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
Simply Irresistible with Sarah Michelle Gellar. Highly recommend it. One of the worst movies ever, but so engaging.
Mom is a crab?
Maybe. Her mom might die and come back as a magical crab that gives her magic cooking powers.
Okay. Well then.
We should just watch that. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Like Water for Chocolate. I think this also takes place definitely during the Mexican Revolution. And it tells the story of a woman who is the youngest daughter of her family, and she was forbidden to marry by this tradition the family has. And she has a very domineering mother. And then there's like love triangles when her sister marries the person she loves. And then there's this new guy who, I could go into all that, but that's the whole plot of the movie. So, book. It is a movie. I haven't seen the movie yet.
Oh.
I'm going to at some point. But those are the types of things that it's dealing with. And some of the more interesting stuff is that introduction of magical realism, and her feelings are literally entering her food. And it has themes about how personal desire is at odds with family duty and cultural traditions, and food becomes this really powerful symbol of emotion and connection. And I'd recommend this one too. It's a much easier read for people who maybe find those first few ones I was talking about a little too heavy and cerebral. Then there's another Carlos Fuentes book called Adam in Eden from 2009, and it's about a wealthy Mexican tycoon who can buy anything, and he starts trying to construct his own private Eden, I guess, away from everything. And the novel is satirical about this world of the super wealthy in late stage capitalism where political corruption and this kind of cult around wealth in Mexico and, everywhere starts taking things over. So that was an interesting one too. The Story of My Teeth by Valeria Luiselli from 2013 is about a man named, he calls himself Highway, Gustavo Sanchez, but they call him Highway.
That's a cool nickname.
And he is a auctioneer who travels around the world but is in Mexico City, and he's determined to acquire the perfect set of teeth and tell great stories about things he sells. It's weird but kind of fun, and it gets into ideas of conferring worth on objects and people based on the stories that surround them. It's very fun and then kind of drags a lot towards the end, so it's a medium recommend on that one. Then there is Hurricane Season from 2017 by Fernanda Melchor, and it's a raw, very brutal novel set in a fictional rural Mexican town, and it surrounds a mystery about the death of someone they call the witch. But it's not fantasy, it's not horror, because as the mysteries are unraveled, you're like, oh, the true horror is misogyny and homophobia. It's a hard read. It is difficult to get through. Everyone is the worst. It's brutal. There's pretty much no redeeming characters, and the language is just so vulgar consistently. But I get that that's what she was going for. She was trying to paint this picture of how marginalized people are treated, specifically women in modern Mexico. So I get what she's doing. I think it's good, but it's hard to get through. So read at your own risk, I guess. Oh, and speaking of hard to get through, the last one on my list is called Liliana's Invincible Summer, A Sister's Search for Justice. And this is written by Cristina Rivera Garza from 2023. And it is, I guess, a memoir, mostly. And it's a true story about the author investigating the 1990 murder of her younger sister, Liliana, at the hands of her abusive ex-boyfriend, and deals a lot with how the case was essentially abandoned by Mexican authorities. And the author travels back years later trying to reinstigate the search. It seems like something that would be a Netflix documentary or a podcast a lot of the times, because that happens so often. So this book is a very, very tough read, not in just that it depicts violence against women, because it doesn't actually talk explicitly about that. It's a tough read if you want something to happen. If you're looking for a book with events, it's not that. It's much more of an essay. So sometimes, like for instance, she'll say something about handwriting, and then she'll spend some time talking about like, oh, here is how stylistic handwriting is oppressive to women. And here's how handwriting controlled my sister's life. And it'll have extended periods like that where things don't like happen in the sense of like activities or plot points, and it's more just kind of pontificating about issues rather than having any things happen. So it's more essay time than it is memoir or novel time. When it gets into letters that people sent about her sister, we actually start seeing some character stuff there. So that part kind of brings you back in. So I'd say this is an important novel, not an enjoyable novel, or even a novel, maybe? I don't know. So a tricky one. So read that one if you are specifically interested in the subject matter. But that is it. That is my Mexican literature or Mex-Lit roundup. And now looking at it, the first half of them are all male authors writing about the corruption of men, going from idealism to corrupt. And then the second half of them are female authors writing about dealing with these men who have been corrupted and how that affects them. It's very evenly split that way.
You got both sides.
So I guess I'm still learning about the Mexican Revolution. And
which one?
Well, yeah, that's what I was talking about, how it was extended, but like the one that people talk about in, actually in all these books, it's the same portions, but I think of all revolutions of that sort to go to democracy as just wholly good, but then you realize like, well, sometimes people on the good side are also assholes, and then they start installing
They're
things.
not
But that is a lot of nuance, and I've only been in Mexico for a short time, so I have a lot to learn, but I think I'm done reading them for a while until the next one, and then I'll tell you all about it.
Okay.
All right, Sam, what is your thing of the fortnight? Is it a fun audiobook?
It is a fun audiobook.
All right.
So I think previously I've talked about Outlander.
Oh, you definitely have.
Yes. So I had never read the books. I tried to read the books, and I will say that the original narrator sounds old. I have no idea how old she actually is. She's read all 9 books, and just like, she's got an older sounding voice. And I've talked to other people who have read the books, and they said like, I just couldn't get past the narrator. Like, that was like the number one thing. I've discovered that on 1.25 speed, she sounds a little less old. She gets a little peppier. So I read Outlander, the novel based on, or that was adapted into a show and a graphic novel and a musical at one point.
I didn't know there was a graphic novel. Did you ever read that?
No, and I'm gonna try and look for it. So this was published in 1991. And just to give you like an idea of when the show came out, I believe, in 2002. And so, 2013. It was like started. So this book kind of sat for a very long time and was popular. It won awards. It sold a lot of copies, but it wasn't like as crazily popular as it is now with the show. It's written by Diana Gabaldon. It is about some time travel, a little bit of magical realism and adventure. And it is expected to publish its final book at the end of 2026 in the 10th book, which will kind of draw up the series. And apparently this is the end. So I'm really looking forward to it. The reason I decided to finally go back to this book was because the final season of the show is coming out, and I figured I will probably watch the show again before the new season comes out. And I thought, what if I read the books and then watch the show as I like finish each book? So
makes sense.
That's kind of what I'm doing. So I finished the first one. It was about 28 hours long. And it was a little annoying because the copy I got was from the disc version of the audiobook, which was 28 discs long. And so you kind of had to start each chapter manually. So it kind of takes you out of it. But the next book that I got was a lot better. So it centers around Claire Randall, who is a nurse who time travels from 1945 back to the 18th century Scotland and falls in love with a Highland warrior named Jamie. And this book is the first, like I said, out of 10 books. There are novellas that go into kind of some side characters that are really well loved. And it has sold about 25,000 or 25 million copies and has, I think, probably like 7 or 8 different covers and editions and that kind of thing. So it's like a huge book, and I really enjoyed reading it. It's kind of is like way more detailed than the show, obviously, because when you're watching it in like a visual medium, you miss some of the things that are described in the book that end up being kind of important, because the people on screen aren't going like, oh, look at this. This is like da-da-da-da-da, and it reminds me of this. You get that in the book. And so I felt like I had a better understanding of the surroundings and what was going to become important. And probably having seen the show, I have a little bit more knowledge than someone reading this for the first time and not having seen the show. The book follows the show very closely. I think this first season for sure is like pretty much exactly the first book. And I think they did a really good job of taking 28 hours of material and condensing it down into, I believe it's 10 episodes. So I enjoyed it. I think I'm kind of excited to read the rest of the books just to see how the story differs. And I'm also really excited to finally know what like all the hype's about and be one of those people who's like, well, in the book this happened. Because towards the end of the series, I've heard that there are things that happen in the book that do not happen in the show because either they would have been too hard or it would have taken too many episodes and it just didn't fit in their like 10 episode structure or 15 episode structure, one of the two. So I'm interested to see how the book kind of diverges from where the show went and to kind of see how it all ends together. And I know that the ending of the 9th book is very different from the ending of the last season of the show. So I'm excited about that.
So is it 10 books, 10 seasons of show?
Yes.
Or will be, I guess.
Will be.
And you've only read book 1 thus far?
Yes.
What is book 1 called? Is it just called Outlander?
It's just called Outlander.
And then they get subtitles as they go on?
Then they get, the books are Dragonfly and Amber, Voyager, Drums of Autumn, The Fiery Cross, A Breath of Snow and Ashes, An Echo in the Bone, Written in My Own Heart's Blood, and Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone. And the final...
Some of those are great titles. Some of them are
not so great.
So generic to every fantasy romance.
And the final one is going to be called A Blessing for a Warrior Going Out.
Oh.
So, interesting.
Interesting.
But yeah, so it's a big series to take on, and I'm excited. But I do know I have a lot of listening ahead of me.
That's always fun and daunting.
Yes, it is both fun and daunting.
Because you know how I am. If I find an author I like, I'm like, oh, well, I will now read everything they've ever written. And it's exciting because you get real into something. But then you're like, oh, is this my next year?
Yes.
I guess so.
Well, and that's exactly what I have a coworker who is like the Outlander girl who got me into the show and then like was like, you should read the books. And I tried and I was like, I don't know. And then when I told her I was doing this, she was like, I'll bring you like the physical copy so you can like see the book. Cause it was very confusing. It wasn't like one disc per chapter in the first book. It was like, I couldn't really tell where I was in the book. So I was able to kind of page through, but she's like very excited that I'm doing this. So yeah, I don't know that I will do a thing of the week for every single book, but I may check in halfway through and then at the end.
Yeah, we'll get a big roundup at the end.
Yes. So, Indy.
Yes.
What are we watching for next week?
We are going to stick in the late 80s, but go somewhere very different. So we are going to watch the 1988 Italian film Cinema Paradiso.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to assume you know nothing about this movie.
No, I think I've heard you mention it. I don't know anything other than that.
It is a pretty famous movie. It did very well in the kind of awards and all that sort of stuff. It won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. It won the Cannes Festival Grand Prize. It was nominated for 11 BAFTAs, which I think was a record for foreign language feature at the time. I think it's been broken since. So the movie is set in a small Sicilian town, and it centers on the friendship of a young boy and a projectionist who works at the movie theater, Cinema Paradiso.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And in my mind, this movie is a great romance. But the more I think about it, it's like, oh, is it more of a coming-of-age story of that boy? And like one of the central plots is the romance? I don't know. I saw it once, and that was over 20 years ago now? Oh, no.
Oh, wow. Okay. So this is going to be like new.
Well, as a lot of the movies we cover, I saw it when I was 20 and still remember most of it. Mm-hmm. This one, maybe less. But in my mind, what stood up most was, well, there's this one scene at the very end, but we won't talk about anything about that, and the romance. So we'll see how big of a point that is, because I'm looking at the Wikipedia now and it doesn't mention the romance.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe if I keep reading it, but I'm not going to keep reading a article while I talk to you.
Podcasting. Good podcasting.
But I think it is a very important part in it. And you know what? It's in there anyway, so I'm going to qualify this as a romance. Along with being one of my favorite romantic movies, this is one of my favorite movies that's about cinema in some way. We haven't talked about many of those, but there's a lot of movies about movies.
Oh.
Whether the making of a movie or just like the power of cinema. And I think this kind of is in that power of cinema sort of world. So it is fantastic. I remember thinking it was one of the greatest things I'd ever seen when I first saw it. And a lot of people agree with me. It's regarded as one of the greatest films of all time in quite a few different lists. So clearly I wasn't just out on my own thinking this was so good. But one important thing before you go and watch it, there are multiple versions of this movie, and that's what gets confusing. So the one I have is Nuevo Cinema Paradiso, which is the director's cut. Whenever I'm watching a movie for the first time, I was like, oh yeah, I'll get the director's cut, the long version. This is everything they wanted to have in it. From what I've read, I don't think we're going to watch the director's cut. I think we're going to watch the cut down version.
Oh.
So it was originally released in Italy with a runtime of 155 minutes. So it's a long movie.
Yeah.
Then it didn't do very well, so they cut it down to 124 minutes. And that's what we'll call the international version. The international version is what won the prize at Cannes and the Oscar. Then Nuevo Cinema Paradiso, or sometimes called Cinema Paradiso, the new version, came out with a runtime of 173 minutes, so longer than both of the other two versions. That's the version I've seen and think it's fantastic.
Oh.
But I read at the differences, and what's included in the director's cut was something that I thought didn't need to be in it. And I kind of thought like, oh, it would have been nice if we didn't have this section. And apparently someone else agreed with me because the international version does not have that thing. And we'll get into those differences when we actually watch the movie. So I'm going to suggest, in a real rarity for me, you watch the short version, the 124-minute international release.
What? Indy's suggesting that we watch a shorter movie?
Yeah, not the director's cut, because I think what the director added in, I don't think we needed it.
Wasn't important. Okay.
It's very important, but it changes it. And I don't know if I like that change.
Okay. Well, this is interesting.
So next week, I'll talk about those differences briefly, but we'll be watching the 124-minute international release.
Okay.
And if you watch the director's cut, you'll be fine. And I'll just tell you the section that was not in what we saw.
Okay, perfect.
So go check it out. We're continuing. I don't think I've done an American movie in a while.
No, it's been a while.
Who needs them? Not me. So watch Cinema Paradiso from 1988, whatever version you can get. I recommend international, I think.
Okay.
But I've never actually seen the international release. So
Interesting
we'll see.
that you're recommending something you haven't seen.
But I know what was added.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with it. I might regret it later.
Okay, great.
So join us next week when we talk all about Cinema Paradiso and whether or not it made Samantha cry.
Okay, great. Because we know from history that I am going to cry if there's crying.
Oh, I thought you were going to say we know from history that you have a stone cold heart when it comes to movies, and you're like, whatever.
I don't really.
You know what?
We'll
That'll
see
be a talk for next week.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.